everyone, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, your guide to all things geeky, and this is Comics Class, the new ongoing show here on the Professor Thorgy channel. One of my New Year's resolutions was that I wanted to provide some structure to this channel. Don't get me wrong, I love how much stuff we cover on the Professor Thorgy channel. I love that it is basically a geeky grab bag. I love that it is a place where anyone who is a geek, a fan of something from the world of pop culture, is a place where you can come and indulge yourself and just enjoy and find something that speaks to you. That is great. However, it's also chaotic as hell. So in order to simplify that, I have decided to take the wide range of geeky things that I talk about, divide them up, and then give them their own schedule. Give them a time and place in the week when you can expect to find them. And this is Comic Class, the new show where I will cover everything about comic books, and you can always find it here on Wednesdays. Now, just because I'm talking specifically about comic books doesn't mean that I still can't geek out and talk about whatever I want. This show will have everything from random recommendations, to reviews, to top 10s, to news stories, anything like that. As long as it has to do with comic books, you know the place and the time to find it, here on Wednesdays. And I'm glad that the first episode of this is coming out today, because today is a very special day for us comic book fans, because today is when Secret Wars number 9 finally comes out. This thing has had a build-up that has been lasting forever. It had a 2-year-long storyline in the Avengers books that led up into it, and then the series itself, which was only supposed to take 4 months, it ended up getting delayed for an extra 5 months, and they had to go back and rewrite the book to add in an extra chapter. This thing has been building and building and building for so long. It is quite possibly the most epic event that Marvel has had. So it deserves to be talked about, and you might be looking down at the title of this video and thinking, what the heck do you mean? You say that it's not spoiler, but it is spoiler filled? That is because this thing excited me so much that I couldn't hide the spoilers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my spoiler-free review of it, and then, right after I give the review, I'm going to have the spoiler-filled discussion. If you want to just jump right to the spoiler-filled discussion, just click that right there, or jump to that in the time code. There you go. Alright, everybody cool? Let's go into the review. As I said, this had me more excited than anything Marvel has put out in a long time, and I know that as someone reviewing this book, I should come in here and be all like, oh, did I like it or did I not? Ooh, let me make you watch throughout the entire video to see what my opinion is. I can't hide it. This thing was excellent. And not just issue number 9, but the entire storyline. And one of the things that amazes me so much about that is simply that. It's that it was good, because listen, Marvel, I love you, but your crossovers are crap, alright? I'm sorry. You had some great ones back in the day. Infinity Gauntlet, your very first one, oh my gosh, that is still held as one of your greatest crossovers of all time. That was amazing. And then from there, no, you had some okay stuff. And then you brought it back with House of M and Civil War, and oh my gosh, when that happened, oh, everybody was just on edge. Everybody couldn't wait to find out what happened next. You were truly changing up the comic book industry. And then there was Planet Hulk, and Planet Hulk was awesome. Didn't have a lot of brains behind it, but it was what Hulk should be, just a bunch of smashing. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great and emotional. And then from there, I don't even remember what came next. Well, it was after that. It was Secret Invasion. That's what it was. Secret Invasion was bad. It was. Listen, I know some people out there who love it. The build-up to it was amazing. But the storyline itself was such a massive letdown. And then there was Siege, which was okay. You know, there wasn't much to it, but it was fine. And then right after that, you followed it up with Fear itself, which, oh my gosh, that one, the less said about that, the better. And then it just kept going on and on and on. Every single 3 months, you had a different crossover event. And the last one that you did was Original Sin, and oh my gosh, that might have been one of your worst ones. That was just terrible. So I went into this just thinking, please be good. That's all I could think when I went into this, because, yeah, Jonathan Hickman is incredibly talented. Sure, he talks in weird backwards mystery speak every now and again, but he is incredibly talented, but so are the guys who screwed up Original Sin and Fear itself. You guys just kind of have a talent for taking really powerful writers and giving them a book that they probably shouldn't be writing. So when I went into this, that's all I could say was, please be good, please be good. It was good. It was really freaking good. because Jonathan Hickman knows how to write Doom. He knows how to write big cosmic events. He knows how to write the Richards family. And most of all, he knows how to take a storyline and build it and have a goal in mind at the end. That was my big fear when we found out that he was going back to rewrite the story to add on an extra chapter. That was the moment which I was like, well, he had something in mind, and now it's not there anymore. So great, wonderful. I don't know what the original ending of this was going to be, and I don't care, because this was the best possible ending you could have gotten for this book. Again, I am not going to spoil anything, but let's just say that the big showdown that we've all been waiting for, that one that is right there on the cover of Reed Richards versus Dr. Doom, that is indeed as epic as it should be. That was the perfect throwdown that these two guys should have. It wasn't just fighting, it wasn't just physical combat, because, you know, these are two geniuses. It shouldn't just be physical combat. It was also these guys who knew each other and had a long, stretched out history with each other, just bringing it all to the surface. This was like a therapy session in the middle of a fight, and it worked so well. And there isn't a lot else that I can say about this without spoiling anything, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to have the spoiler discussion after my review, but I will just say that every other character that shows up here, even if they are only in there for one page, they got a moment that really touched me. There is a fantastic send-off at the end of this. Listen, it's not spoiling anything at this point to say that something does happen to Reed and Sue. That has been spoiled in all the other Marvel books that have come out in the last 3 months. They have mentioned Reed and Sue aren't around anymore. They don't say what happened to them. They don't say if they're dead. They don't say if they're out there in space somewhere. They don't say if they're in a parallel dimension. They don't say if they're big, weird cosmic energy beings controlling the universe at this point. That was oddly specific. But yes, we know that something happened to them. We don't know what, but we know that something happened to them. And I won't spoil anything, but I will just say what they do with them, I thought it was the perfect thing to do with them. I thought that Jonathan Hickman treated it with respect, and I thought that Marvel honestly treated these guys the way that they should be treated. I did not walk away from it going like, oh, that was a total disrespect to the Fantastic Four. No, it was actually kind of perfect. In fact, I'll go ahead and admit, the very final page of this book, it almost brought a tear to my eye. It really did. That's not me trying to exaggerate. I really did feel something kind of coming up in me, and it is very rare that a comic can do that to me. And I'm not the only one. Whenever I went into the back room at my comic store throughout the day, which is where we keep all the books that are about to come out for the next week, and I would see someone on their lunch break reading that book, I'd kind of just chill there for a moment, you know, pretend like I was doing something. I would kind of just give them a little look out of this corner of my eye, just to see like when they were getting close to finishing the book. And every single person, whenever they got to the end of that book, they were just like, this moment. Oh my gosh, it ends so freaking well. And not to keep stressing that point too much, but I have to bring it up again, man. I just can't get over the fact that this is just a big, fat pile of not screwing it up. This was the big Marvel event that was supposed to basically end the last era of Marvel that had been going on for 40 some odd years and start the new era. It was supposed to be a send-off to so many of these old characters. It was supposed to be the big thing that moved us forward, the big crossover event that we've been looking forward to for all these years, and they didn't screw it up. Marvel, the company that, listen, and this is coming from a Marvel fan, but Marvel, the company that is known for screwing up big massive events, their biggest one of all, and it might be the best one they've ever done. I cannot stress that enough. They nailed it. And because of that, I have to give it perfect. So okay, now that the review part is out, in a moment I will start the spoiler discussion. However, before I do that, to everyone who is about to tune out, I just want to say thank you for watching this video. If you haven't seen any of my stuff before, but you like this and you want to check out some of the other geeky stuff I do on this channel having to do with movies and video games and all that other stuff, make sure that you hit that subscribe button right there. Also, I've got another channel out there which I will admit I haven't updated in a while, but I am getting back into it. One of my other resolutions for this year is to finally start working on that other channel again. I have another channel there called Geekery 101, which is meant to just basically explain the backstories and introduce people and give them all the information they need in order to start engaging in all their geeky interests. And I currently have a video up there that is explaining the backstory going into Secret Wars. So if you want to read Secret Wars, but you're like, I don't have time to read the 2 years of backstory that went into it, then go over there to this channel right there and you can watch the video that I have there that is all about the backstory to Secret Wars. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Let's get into the spoiler discussion now. Okay, first thing that I have to say is that I hope that the decorations on the set this week didn't give it away, but oh my god, Black Panther was such a badass in this. Black Panther with the Infinity Gauntlet fighting the Beyonder Doctor Doom, just two gods going at it. And I love that they didn't make it seem like, you know, a big spectacle, as in like it was the center focus. The center focus was still Reed and his quest to try and balance this, because it's Reed Richards. He's the guy who fixes everything, which by the way was an amazing line. But I love that the way they framed every single one of those shots was it's Reed like down here talking and trying to fix all the problems, and then the rest of the page is Doom and the Black Panther fighting, because that made it seem like, okay, the humans trying to fix stuff, the gods all around them. That was just gorgeous framing of pages. I just have to point that out. But then you get into the fight between Reed and Doctor Doom, and like I said, that felt like two guys who had known each other. That to me was the best summation about the relationship between Doctor Doom and Reed Richards that I have seen in a long time in comics. Because that moment in which Reed was like, listen, I'm not saying I can do it better. I'm not saying that I am better than you. I'm saying you can be better than what you are. It's like, that is the guy who kept trying to tell his college roommate, you can do better. Now they're grown up and they're still having this argument. I love that so much. And the moment that Doom finally admits, yes, you could do this better than me, that was the perfect way to beat Doom. Because Doom has always been the guy who believes, yes, I am infallible, I am basically a god among men, I am never wrong about anything. The fact that the final way that Reed Richards beat Doctor Doom was getting him to finally admit, okay, fine, after all these years, you're better than me. That to me was the perfect way to have Reed finally defeat Doom. That was Reed's final victory over Doom. That's what it always should have been. I loved seeing that. That was just a storyline written by a guy who knew these two characters. And then the Marvel Universe, it gets recreated, it gets reborn, and I cannot stress this enough. How freaking amazing was it that the reason why Miles is in our universe, we kept trying to figure out, how is Miles going to be the sole survivor of this universe? How is he going to come into our universe? How is his family going to come in? Why on earth was that going to happen? I can't stress how great it was that he came over because he gave Molecule Man a cheeseburger. Remember that scene like 3 freaking issues ago? In which they are able to break in, him and Pete are able to break in to where the Molecule Man is hiding out. And he's just sitting there, and he's got the hunger of 1,000 dying universes in him. Alright, he's got the hunger of infinity, just this endless, bottomless stomach there, because he's holding this infinite power within him. And he goes, did you bring me anything to eat? And Miles is just like, oh shoot, I got a cheeseburger in my back pocket. And Pete was like, why are you carrying a cheeseburger around with you? And it's like, dude, I'm a teenager, I'm starving at all times. Of course I'm gonna keep some protein on me. And then he gives him a cheeseburger, he eats it down. And in this issue, it flashes back to that moment, and it shows that as Miles was walking out, Molecule Man just goes, hey kid, make sure the cheeseburger. I owe you. And so that's the reason why when Miles' universe was destroyed, Molecule Man was just like, you know what, I'm going to take you and your dad and your friends, and you know what, I'm bringing your dead mom back to life and giving you her too. You're all living happily in this universe. I saved you. Thanks for the cheeseburger. Oh, we all had our theories. We all had our theories about how Miles was going to survive. Nobody thought it was going to be because of McDonald's. Oh my god. Thank you, Ronald. And before I get off of Miles, let me just say that scene there at the end of him and Pete, this is going to sound kind of weird, but I love that Pete is basically becoming the Flash of the Marvel Universe. And what I mean by that is that before the New 52, the Flash had this whole family of other superheroes based around him. They each, had something in common with him. They each shared a similar power source, and that he was basically being this mature character kind of trying to teach them all. I love that so much. And then DC just got rid of it. And then Marvel basically came in and was like, if you guys aren't going to use this, then we'll just take it, alright. And they're giving it to Peter, and now he's got himself, he's got Silk, he's got Spider-Gwen who can jump into his dimension anytime they want, he's got Miguel from the future, and now he's got Miles in there. And seeing Pete with Miles there in that scene, which he's like, okay, so what do you tell your mom? Okay, you're hanging out with a friend? Alright, that's basically true. Did you do your homework? Alright, very good. Now let's go out there and be Spider-Man. That to me was such a Kid Flash moment. That to me is what modern day superhero sidekicks should be. What the mentor-mentee program should be when it comes to superheroes. I love that so much. I cannot wait to see what these characters are going to be like in their books moving forward. It had me so excited. That was what I love in comics. That one scene right there reminded me of why I love these characters. But that wasn't even the best thing in this book. To me, the best thing is how it ends. Because I had my money down that Reed was going to die, or that he was going to end up just going and turning into the new Eternity, and that he was going to be like the big new cosmic being that has to control the universe and keep it all together. And if they did that, I'd be like, well, okay, I guess that's an okay send-off for Reed. I mean, he was all about big science and big ideas, so now if his big ideas were keeping the universe in balance, alright, I guess that would work. Then if he died, then alright, well, he died saving the universe, alright. What they did here is something I could not have thought of, and it is actually the most perfect way to send off that family. It is stunning to me that this is what happens. Reed and Sue and their 2 kids and all the kids from the Future Foundation, which was basically all of their adopted kids, they were now going out there into space with the Molecule Man, who still had the energy of the infinite universes inside of him, and then their son, Franklin, was going to dream up these alternate realities. Reed was going to guide them, then he was going to give them to the Molecule Man, who would use his powers to create them, and they were basically going out there creating new galaxies, and then the Future Foundation, this school of children geniuses, would go out there and think up the ways to structure these universes and balance them and create the backstory and all that, and to guide them. And I went, that is the most perfect way to send them off. It's that, A, the Fantastic Four was always about family. So the fact that Reed's big adventure at the end, he specifically says, listen, I'm not Mr. Fantastic anymore. I'm just Dad. A, that was perfect. And B, it's the family that is now doing this. It is the big family adventure. It's Reed, it's Sue, it's their kids, and it's all their adopted kids going out there and basically being the new gods. But they're still who they are. They're still human, but they are now in charge of guiding all these universes. And I love that so much, because the modern day Marvel Universe started with the Fantastic Four. They were the first ones. They were the first family of Marvel. They were the family that came in and started this new universe that has been around for basically 40 years. They were the ones who started that new generation after the World War II heroes. So I thought about this and I just realized that means that the way that they retired these guys who created this new Marvel Universe is that now they're out there in space creating all these other universes. That's it. The fathers and mothers of this new generation of alternate universes is the first family. It's the people who started it all in the first place. That to me is honestly the most brilliant and most touching way to send off this family. It is the most appropriate. Like, I've been looking at the way that Marvel's been treating the mutants, and basically they're having them all die off of a plague, and I'm like, that is disgusting. How can you do that to these guys who have been your backbone for so long? How can you do that to all these characters who meant so much to you for so long? And I thought they were going to do the same with the Fantastic Four. I thought that Disney was going to come down and go, oh, no, Fox is trying to make movies about these guys. You gotta embarrass them. You gotta make a book that no one even wants to read anymore. You gotta make a family that people are just gonna despise. But they didn't. They came in and gave them the most appropriate send-off they could. They gave them a send-off that said, this is what these characters are about. And also, you might be asking, well, I don't know how I felt about Johnny and Ben not being there. They were part of the family too. I absolutely love that Sue said to Reed, listen, we can't bring Johnny and Ben with us because this is what we're meant to do, but their stories are still being written. It's like, that is so touching. That also, Sue was always the mom of the group. That's such a mom thing to do, to just come in and go, no. I know what they are meant to do. Let them go on their own path now. It's like, that was so touching that she did that. And as I said, Jonathan Hickman can be kind of crazy at times, but he can also be brilliant, and he can also be a guy with a big idea that stretches out so far. And when it gets to this point in the book, in which T'Challa takes the time gem and he jumps back in time to right before that first incursion, to the very first pages of New Avengers #1, which was the book that started all this. That book years ago that started the build up to this event. When he jumped back to that very first moment before the incursion and showed what would have happened to him and his students out there if they hadn't been interrupted by that incursion, and he goes, listen, you passed your test, and then there was that moment when the incursion will happen, but because it didn't, he goes, and this is your reward. This is the Wakandan space program. We are now going to take the Earth into space, and you guys are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. This is the Alpha Flight program. This is the new space program that we're setting up, which describes a whole bunch of books. It describes what's going on in the Ultimates, it describes what's going on in the Captain Marvel book, and then you see, oh my gosh, he went back in time 8 months. Because when the Time Runs Out storyline started, which was the final days of the Marvel Universe, it skipped ahead by 8 months. And if you're reading any of the current Marvel books, they're starting 8 months after Secret Wars, which that's when it hit me. I was like, 8 months? Why do you keep doing 8 months? Why is it always 8 months? And that's when it hit me as I read this. It's because the 8 months that are following Secret Wars is basically saying, hey, here's what would have happened after that 8-month time jump we just did. If these heroes hadn't just spent the last 8 months fighting each other and trying to figure out how to destroy worlds and turning on each other and backstabbing each other, and instead they had spent all that time unifying, coming together, trying to build something better. And that's what we have here. And that one really got me and made me realize why I love this so much. It's because almost every single big Marvel event, it always ends with them in a spot worse than where they started. It typically always ends with, oh, and now this happens, or oh, and this character died, so what does that mean? This one ends with them going, 8 months later, we've all been working together and everything is awesome right now. I have not always been the biggest fan of Jonathan Hickman. I have criticized him multiple times, but it is stunning to me that that guy had such vision when he wrote New Avengers #1 all those years ago. When he was writing that, he went, all this is important because I'm going to come back at the very end of this to this exact moment right now. And not just that exact moment with T'Challa and all of his students out there in Wakanda, but no, the very first word of New Avengers #1 is Reed Richards saying everything dies. And it's him talking about how they have to prepare for the inevitable, how they have to prepare for the complete destruction of the universe. And I love that after all of this, it's Reed out there expanding the universe, creating new life with his family, and he says, listen, I saw the universe as something that was dying, but now I realize it's expanding, it's growing, and I'm going to help it grow, because in the end, everything lives. The fact that the very first line of the very first book of this build-up was everything dies, and the very last line is everything lives, that's brilliant to me. I mean, also, not to stress this too much, but every single Marvel event, almost all of them ends with you going, oh man, that's so sad. Whereas this was the first one in which I can think of that no one died. No one died. Everyone's still alive after all this. And that was the whole point of it. Is that this universe keeps moving on and Reed is out there in space making sure that it's going to work right. And also to anybody out there who's currently been reading Invincible Iron Man and you've seen that Dr. Doom has his face fixed, but now he's trying to be a hero, and you're wondering, why is this guy now humble? Why does he now realize his place in the world? Why is he not some big braggadocious jackass? And why is he trying to be a hero now? The fact that at the end of this book, Dr. Doom finally gets his face repaired. And when he was in Battleworld, when he had the powers of a god, he said, listen, I can fix everything in this world, but my own face is still wrecked, it's still damaged. I don't know why I can't fix my own face. The fact that Reed could do what Doom couldn't, and then even with that power, he was like, you know what, man? We were still friends. We were still friends. I'm going to use this power to finally fix your face. And you just see Doom laughing. Doom just laughing at it all. It was kind of a beautiful moment. Because it was like Doom finally admitting to himself, you know what? I'm not God. I'm just a guy. And I should probably not be an ass to everyone. That one moment was the moment when Dr. Doom was humbled. And it's one of the greatest moments I have seen for that character. So that was it. That was my review and spoiler discussion for Secret Wars #9. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I hope you guys enjoyed this very first episode of my new show. Come back every single Wednesday to hear me talk even more about comic books. And as I said, stick around because I will start working out the rest of the schedule for this channel in the next couple of weeks. So thank you again for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about this final issue and what you thought about all of Secret Wars altogether. And once again, just to repeat myself, hit that subscribe button, you know, click on the videos at the end of this. You guys know what's going on. I am too happy right now to try and promote my own channel. Damn that issue. That issue. Can we just flash my score up one more time?
Perfect!
I'm sorry, I just had to say that again. God, this made me feel so good. Thank you guys so much. Come back next time.